Hello everyone, this is John from Incendium D&D. So this week, Wizards of the Coast decided to firehose us with some content. Not only are we getting Radiant Citadel dropped today at the time of this recording, but yesterday they also released a new Unearthed Arcana, and this one's called Wonders of the Multiverse. So a few months back, we got an Unearthed Arcana for Travelers of the Multiverse. We got some really neat race options in there, including Ooze people, and Thrycreen, and Gif, with an F, all sorts of cool stuff. So I don't know if this is going to be paired in whatever product those races are designed for. I had thought that maybe that's for Spelljammer. Well, we'll see, because Spelljammer is coming out in less than a month. But unlike Travelers of the Multiverse, Wonders of the Multiverse has a little bit of everything. We get a new race, we get a new subclass, new feats and spells, backgrounds. And again, for me, the most valuable thing is a little bit of insight into the design future of D&D. So the way I found out about this Unearthed Arcana was from the official Dungeons & Dragons YouTube channel, where Todd Kenrick did a interview with Jeremy Crawford. If you're interested in reading Unearthed Arcana as soon as it comes out, I really recommend subscribing to that channel, and then you can download it right from the description. The other thing I think is helpful is we also get to see what the design intent behind a lot of these options are. And a lot of times there's speculation on what the designers were thinking. I've always found the best way to understand that, whether you agree with that intent or not, is by listening to it from the mouth of the creator. So Jeremy Crawford's answers and stuff will hopefully give you insights onto whether or not this content is appropriate for your table. So without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, it goes over usual thing about character creation, just, you know, height, weight, all that stuff. The new race option we get is the Glitchling. I thought this was kind of an interesting one. Glitchlings, I think, are kind of like Modrons, if I'm reading this right, in that they are beings that are created by forces of planar law. They're winged human-like creatures made from a merger of magic and machine, which is kind of interesting. They have a tie to Mechanus, which is the plane of like true lawful order in the default D&D cosmology. And they also have an orderly quirk, which I always find fun when they give us these little tables. It gives us something to roleplay off of without necessarily boxing our character into a particular behavior. One of the things I really like that Wizards of the Coast has been doing is acknowledging that each adventurer, each player character is an individual. You're not just playing dwarves and dwarves smith and mine, and that's all they do because they're dwarves. I really like this this design direction. What I find interesting with this one is I'm gonna kind of bounce around here a little bit. First, with Glitchlings, they are constructs, so they aren't humanoids. They have a feature called Living Construct, where they were created to benefit from certain spells that normally don't affect constructs. Cure Wounds, Healing Word, those healing type of spells. This is something I actually wish we would have seen in Eberron Rising from the Last War. I think that Warforged would be served better as construct as the creature type with a feature like this that kind of makes it okay to heal them. Just to throw this out there, when you start messing with player characters' creature types, that can, in a lot of weird ways, throw off your game's balance. So, for example, one of the things about some earlier official entries we've gotten, like Fairies and Centaur are Fae, that makes them immune to certain spells like Hold Person or Dominate Person that specifically call out the humanoid creature type. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. One of the things I did for my home game is I did make Warforged the construct creature type. And because of that, now players have a decision to make when creating their character. Yes, their Warforged will be immune to a lot of things, but I did stick with the whole you can't be healed because it says Healing Word can't heal constructs. So instead, constructs have to be healed during a short rest with the Mending spell, which is just a cantrip. So out of combat, it's actually easier to heal them because all you have to do is repair them. You don't have to like use a healer's kit or anything. In combat, though, they're immune to some certain debuff effects, and they also can't be healed. So as a construct player character, there is a unique cost benefit. I know that they're trying to make it a little easier for players, and I think that a player that's interested on taking on the challenge of playing a construct mechanically, that is an interesting, in my experience, it's an interesting way to go about it, like not letting them heal mid-combat. But anyway, and that especially comes up for something like armored plating, where basically if you aren't wearing armor, your base armor class is 14 plus dex modifier. You can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the highest unarmored defense we've seen so far. Sometimes we've seen 13 plus dex modifier. I think lizard folk have a feature like that. I think Loxodon from Ravnica, it's 12 plus con modifier. It's kind of interesting. 14 as the base armor class calculation is pretty high. So to just cycle back to the same topic, I could see, you know, you're playing a glitchling, you're a construct, you have a higher armor class, and you can't be healed. So it's harder to hit you, but when you get hit, it's more devastating. To me, that creates a new, interesting economy for your party. Anyway, moving on to Balance Chaos. Gotta be honest, when Tasha's was coming out, I was saying the same thing. I don't like, even for a limited time, I don't like reliable talent on attack rolls and saving throws. So the whole, like, if you roll a 9 or lower, you can count it as a 10 because you're balancing chaos. No, you're not. You're just hitting when you want to. Yeah, and it's proficiency bonus number of times per long rest. But yeah, this whole balance of chaos. And honestly, I would be okay with it if you were, say, changing it to like a 7 or an 8. Like, I'm okay with this mechanic of you roll randomly, instead of rolling randomly on the die, maybe it's like Portent, where you balance chaos with a set number instead, because you know the thing's armor class is an 18 and you have a plus 10 to hit. But I think that treating the roll as a 10, I think that's too high for my comfort level. And then Ordered Mind, you have advantage on Wisdom Insight checks and on saving throws made to avoid or end the charmed condition on yourself. Sure, I guess. And the Vestigial Wings, when you move, you can engage your wings to gain a fly speed equal to your walking speed. And if you're still aloft at the end of your turn with nothing else supporting you, you fall, and you can use that trait a number of times equal to proficiency bonus. So overall, my thoughts on the Glitchling. I like the story idea. I like the idea of offering a construct player option. Armored plating, I think, is too strong. Ordered Mind, I'm not sure I get it. I would like armor plating more if we didn't have living construct, and I hate balance chaos. Then again, I hate all features like it. I like reliable talent because you have to wait until 11th level to get it, and it's only on ability checks, which have far less power impact than attack rolls and saving throws. So, and the Vestigial Wings, they're fine. I almost wonder if Vestigial Wings is like something that could better be used as equipment or something. I don't know. Glitchlings are like, it just feels like Warforged, but not a Warforged. I don't know. So moving on to the Cleric Fate Domain subclass. This is an interesting one. I actually, this really kind of deepens the story of the Cleric for me. I'm kind of, it's interesting that I've never thought about having a fate-based cleric subclass before, but I think that this is perfectly fits in line with the story of the cleric as someone connected to a higher power. So first we're looking at our domain spells, Dissonant Whispers and Heroism, two very interesting options. I don't think clerics get Heroism normally. Heroism is an awesome support spell. I love it. And Dissonant Whispers is kind of an interesting one to attach to this. I think that it provides a unique option that clerics usually don't get. It's pretty cool. Warding Bond and See Invisibility. I would love to say I love See Invisibility more. And I just found out by watching Treant Monk's channel that See Invisibility is terrible. So See Invisibility, the way I've always ruled it, is when you see an invisible creature, you cast See Invisibility on yourself, and now that creature can't benefit from being invisible. Like, you don't have disadvantage on your attack rolls. Apparently, Jeremy Crawford said, because it's a separate bullet point in conditions, even if you have See Invisibility and can perceive the creature, you still have disadvantage on attack rolls against it, and it has an advantage on attack rolls against it. That's stupid. I love the give and take of, getting to choose an option and then a counter option. And to me, see invisibility is a great counter option mid-combat. And so I rule see invisibility as it cancels the benefits of invisibility. You can do rules as written. I won't judge you in public. So 5th level, Beacon of Hope and Clairvoyance. I think Clairvoyance is thematic to the Fate subclass. And then Death Ward and Divination. Cool. And Commune and Gaius. I didn't pronounce that right?
Gish.
I don't know. I'm not super excited by these domain spells. I don't think they're bad options. I think they're appropriate, but it's not like when I first read the Twilight Domain Cleric list and I just, I'm not feeling the same way. So, Omens and Portents. So you can perceive the signs of the future in everyday objects and events, such as the flight of birds or ripples made in water by a thrown stone. You can cast Augury without expending a spell slot when you cast the spell in this way, and the spell has no verbal, somatic, or material components, and you can do it once per long rest. It's pretty cool. And in addition, until you finish a long rest, when you cast a divination spell that includes a chance the DM gives you no answer or a random reading, like Augury, reduce that chance by 25%. Gotta be honest, I hate divination in 5th edition. I wish it had a little bit more mechanical support, or at least mechanical guidance. I think one of the things stylistically that separates me from a lot of DMs, that's been pointed out to me recently in a positive way, is that as a DM, I tend to be pretty transparent. I'm not like a mystic DM hiding a lot of things. And my players actually find that really refreshing and really relaxing for the most part. I wish there was a little bit more so that you wouldn't have to say reduce the chance of a random reading by 25%. And again, the hard part about divination is that as the DM, you have to try to predict things that you're not sure can happen because the game's future is inherently random because it's based on die rolls. I think it's cool to cast Augury once per long rest. I think that the reducing the chance thing is necessary based on the design that's already in the system. That doesn't mean it's a good design in the system. Next is Ties That Bind. We're getting some peace domain action here. Because you can temporarily tie your fate to others. As an action, you touch an object or creature and magically tie a strand of fate from yourself to it for an hour. An unwilling creature must succeed on a wisdom save against your spell save DC to resist this effect. So it has some offensive capabilities, it's not just support. While the target is bound to you and on the same plane, you can sense the direction of the target's location, and you know the direction of its movement if it's in motion. That can be pretty handy. It's like a hunter's mark that doesn't always work, but you also get the versatility of being able to attach it to an ally or an object. In addition, once per turn, when you cast a spell using a spell slot to deal damage or restore hit points to the target, roll a d6 and it's like extra stuff. So you can use this feature's action a number of times equal to proficiency bonus, like every post Tasha's feature. Yeah, I think that's fine. Gives you a little more support if you're like going for support, gives you a little more damage if you're going for damage. What I like about that feature is that it's simple. It's not overly complex. So yeah, moving on to the channel Divinity. This lets you see and manipulate the strands of fate. That always ends well. As a bonus action, you can enter this state for up to a minute or until you lose concentration. For the duration, whenever another creature you can see makes an attack roll or an ability check, you can use your reaction to give the roll advantage or disadvantage. That's interesting. So it's like a power-up that engages as a bonus action, and then it gives you a reaction to use. One of the things I have noticed playing Cleric myself, they don't necessarily have a lot of reactions. And they do have some bonus actions, some more than like other spellcasting classes. I actually like that one. Gets the John stamp of approval. Insightful Striking. Ooh, another bonus action. You can choose one creature you can see within 30 feet. Your magic grants you a brief vision of the target's defenses. Until the end of your next turn, you gain one of the following effects of your choice. The next time you make an attack roll, roll a d6, add the number rolled. The next time the target must make a saving throw, the target must roll a d6 and subtract the number rolled. You can use that bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Cool. Oh, and the nice thing about that is it stacks with Strands of Fate. So you can set up Strands of Fate as a bonus action, and then the next turn, use a bonus action to hopefully get things off more. I do like this design thing about finding ways to subtract things from a target's saving throw. One of my complaints after playing D&D for a while is that when you get to high level, a lot of saving throws are redonkulous. Like, it's like a plus 13 to something. And a lot of times, what it ends up with is, if your players start to figure it out, they start taking options that aren't saving throws. At least at my table, they just started attacking it. And that led to pretty stale combats. So, however, if you are given options that allow you to debuff the target's saving throws, now your players might be more willing to try some different strategies, and keep play a little more fresh. So anyway, potent spellcasting. I do like potent spellcasting. And then last thing is visions of the future. So your knowledge of the future allows you to guide an individual to achieve their greatest possible success. You can cast foresight once without expending a spell slot, but the spell's duration is 1 minute. Once you cast the spell, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. That is actually dope. Ian and I have been talking about as one potential way to maybe fix Mystic Arcanum, to allow an extra 9th level spell without using a spell slot. I think that this is a cool design decision. I think that when you get to 17th level, you should be able to do big, super powerful things. If a DM doesn't want you to do big, super powerful things, don't play at 17th level. So I really like this design. So anyway, off to backgrounds. Now, one thing I'm gonna really highlight here is that with backgrounds, one of the things the designers are playing with is allowing you to take bonus feats as part of your background. To me, this makes backgrounds a little bit better in that not only are they more powerful, but in the player's handbook, each background had like a flavor feature. And to be honest, I've never used them as a DM. I've never used them as a player. I think I've seen one player use it once in the 6 years I've been playing, but usually there's just an understanding that if your character has a specific narrative background, then sometimes in social situations, they're going to be able to know certain things and get certain allies. So rather than having to explicitly say, you have a criminal contact, or you can stay at an acolyte's priestly quarters, I don't know. Usually it's just like, oh, this person recognizes that you're from, like, the same church or something, so they're willing to give you, room and board for the night. It's not something where we have to mechanically point out the narrative feature. It's something where we just agree between player and DM that that's what makes story sense. So instead, by reserving that feature for a feat, which does give significant mechanical bonuses, that actually also helps shape that character's story and makes their story show up in the mechanics in a very concrete way. So that being said, not every feat is created equal. So you do get, it is limited. It says that if you're going to pick a bonus feat, it has to be skilled or tough. Skilled and tough, not bad feats, right? Especially if you're getting them for free. But the other thing is that some specific backgrounds also call for some specific feats. So, I think. Oh yeah, I'm correct. So for example, in one of the backgrounds is giant foundling. You aren't a giant, but somehow you're part of giant culture. So, like every background, you get 2 skill proficiencies. There are 2 language proficiencies. But you also get the Strike of the Giants feat, which is presented later in the document. So that specific background gives you a specific feat, and some feats you can only get through a specific background. And if a DM is going to allow a player to take a background like that, like this was a big deal in Strixhaven when it came out, is like, why does this character's background more powerful than my background? Then if a player doesn't choose one of these special backgrounds, they can just pick skilled or tough. And now it's like, oh, my background, as a street urchin gave me these 3 additional skills that inform my backstory. Or I'm just tough. Again, tough is a good feat. I've definitely taken it a few times. So anyway, the backgrounds that we get, besides Giant Foundling, we get Gate Warden. So they protect portals to another plane of existence. I could even see that. I think there was an order of something, order of wardens, paladin that was in Tasha. So I could see there being a thing. I could see there being a match there, like a really organic match. Planar Philosopher is another one. I could see that being maybe like a wizard or even a warlock. And they get a Scion of the Outer Planes feat, which is kind of interesting. A Rune Carver. I think they did, Jeremy Crawford mentioned that they took the feedback from the Giants UA, refined some of the feats, and then re-released them here. So that's going to be part of this. I'm not going to do a whole side-by-side thing, but that is something if you are interested in seeing the design process of what kind of feedback the designers took and how they refined that into something maybe a little more playable. Another thing that Jeremy Crawford mentioned is just that they are looking at feat stacking. They're trying to be very conscientious about not having feat stacking go too far. One of the things that they did is they took a lot of those 8th level feats and reduced them down to 4th level, but then they had the 4th level or the first feat available as part of your background. Looks like we have quite a bit of them, so let's dive in. So first, oh man, these are prerequisite ones. All right, let's take a look at some of the prerequisites first. Oh my gosh, there's so many of them. All right, Rune Carver Apprentice. You learn comprehend languages. You know 2 runes of your choice from the rune spells table. When you finish a long rest, you can rune up non-magical weapon, armor, piece of clothing, other object. And that gives you things like Ray of Sickness, Chromatic Orb, Disguise Self, Speak with Animals, Longstrider, Command, and Tangle Sanctuary. When you are wearing or carrying the rune mark object, you can cast a spell associated using a spell slot or material components, and you can also cast that spell using any spell slots you have. And you get to choose if it's Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma, which is pretty neat. And then that later leads you to Rune Carver Adept. Your ability to draw out power from runes has grown. You get to increase your spell casting ability. Whenever you cast a spell from the rune spells table, you can invoke runic power, granting you one of the following benefits. Battle runes is choose a creature you can see within 30 feet. Until the end of the next turn, it has advantage. Healing runes, creature gains temp HP. Runic winds. Until the end, choose a creature you can see. Until the end of that creature's turn, its movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, and its walking speed increases by 10. That's pretty cool. I like the Rune Carver Adept, and I like that you're basically like finishing that progression by 4th level. It creates a very solid narrative core, and it also really makes sure that you're able to use the coolest parts of your character's mechanics at a level where you're like guaranteed to actually see play. So now we're moving on to the different Scions. So we've got Scion of Elemental Air. So you get to use Minor Illusion, and you can use a bonus action to gain a flying speed until the end of your turn, like the Vestigial Wings. Scion of Elemental Earth, so you learn Druidcraft, and you can use a bonus action to conjure a Bulwark of Earth that provides you half cover to you or a creature of your choice. That's kind of cool. It's like an earthbending kind of thing. Elemental Fire is you learn Dancing Lights, and you learn Produce Flame. You can also cast it as a bonus action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Wow, this is like what we want 4 Elements Monk to be like, but like good. And then Elemental Water, you learn Thaumaturgy, and as a bonus action, you can create a forceful surge of water directed at a creature within 15 feet of you. They have to make a strength save. On a failure, the target is pushed up to 10 feet away from you or pulled up to 10 feet toward you. Water Whip. The water vanishes immediately after the creature succeeds or fails. Whoa! Alright, so I gotta say, I remember these feats from the UA. The Scion of Elemental Fire, the one thing I didn't like about it is it was fire, but like the bonus action thing was smoke. You like covered yourself in smoke. And I understand it's attached to fire, but if I'm gonna pick elemental fire, I want fire. So I really like this design. Bonus action fly, bonus action shield, bonus action fire. Somebody had the homework assignment of watching Avatar and translating it to D&D. So next we have Scion of the Outer Planes. Ooh. So you're influenced by and adept at navigating planar pathways and strange realities of the outer planes. They are strange. Whether planar essence infuses you or you have an extraplanar ancestry, your connection to a plane infuses you with the energies found there. Choose a type of plane listed in the planar infusions below. Your choice gives you a resistance to a damage type and the ability to cast a cantrip. You can cast the cantrip without material components, and your spellcasting ability is your choice. That's cool. So you get resistance and a free feat. Cool. It's just cool. And then I think the last one of like the base feats before we start breaking into the prereqs. Strike of the Giants. So you've absorbed primeval magic that gives you an echo of the might of the giants. As a bonus action, you can call upon the power. The next time you hit a target with a melee or thrown weapon attack within the next minute, the attack has an additional effect based on the origin of your giant magic. This is magic because it says giant magic. The Hill Giant is the target takes an extra d6 of the weapon's type. If the target is a creature, it must succeed a strength save or be knocked prone. Wow, that's actually really good. Stone Giant, the target takes an extra d6 force damage. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a strength save or be pushed 10 feet away from you. So d6 of the weapon's type, d6 force damage, d6 cold damage. If the target is a creature, they have to succeed a con save or its speed is reduced to 0. Fire Giant, the target just takes extra d8 fire. Cloud Giant, the target takes an extra 1d4 thunder damage. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a wisdom save or you become invisible to it until the end of your next turn. That's cool. So you get to hide in a cloud. Ooh. Storm Giant, extra d6 lightning damage. They have to succeed a con save or it has disadvantage on attack rolls until the start of your next turn. So one thing, I recently recorded a podcast called Borrowing Brilliance with a co-host, fellow martial artist of mine named Stephanie. One of the things we talked about was just how to do action economy. So for example, if I were given the keys to the D&D kingdom, how would I do action economy? And one of the things I said is you have feats determine your bonus actions, because I can't tell you how annoying it is to sit next to a rogue player, have them do their attack, bonus action, move out of the way, really big positioning. They're not even mathematically doing a lot more. It's just their turn feels more fulfilling because they have a lot to do. Giving even a limited by proficiency bonus number of times, whatever, giving fighters and barbarians a bonus action to just do a little bit more, kind of like a divine smite, but not even that big. This isn't 2d8 radiant damage per spell slot. It's 1d6 cold damage, but also with something tactical. This is the design I like to see, especially if you're getting at first level and this is starting to define your character's story and progression. Wizards, you get a thumbs up from me. This is pretty cool. So now let's move back a little bit. Let's take a look at some of these things. Agent of Order. So this is based off Scion of the Outer Planes, the one that gives you a cantrip and a resistance. So you increase an ability score. Oh, so they're all half feats. So you're not losing out too bad on your ASI progression. That's cool. All right, Stasis Strike. Focus John. Once per turn, when you damage a creature you can see within 60 feet, you can deal an extra d8 force damage to the target, and it must succeed a wisdom save or be restrained by spectral bindings until the start of your next turn. These bindings manifest as chains, gears, stone, stasis. Nice. That is way better than an ASI. Just yikes. So at this point, during character creation, you get to pick a resistance, get a cantrip, and not really lose out too bad on your ASI, and get to restrain someone for a turn with d8 force damage. That's powerful. So Baleful Scion. So this is another one. Wait a minute. Oh, you have to, hold on. I misread it. You know when it said Scion of the Outer Planes and it had very specific outer planes? You can only pick this one if you chose the lawful outer plane. Baleful is if you did an evil outer plane. So did it say that back in Scion? Chaotic, evil, good. Oh, it did. Oh my goodness. All right, so it would have to be Radiant and Guidance to get the stasis effect. I am okay with that. I'm okay with this. All right, so Baleful Scion. All right, so you get a resistance and a cantrip, an increase to an ASI, a life-draining grasp once per turn when you hit with a melee weapon attack. Very specific. You can also deal necrotic damage, 1d6 plus proficiency bonus, and you regain a number of hit points equal to the necrotic damage dealt. You can use this a number of times, yada yada. Alright, so you get like a drain effect. That's not bad. Oh gosh, Cartomancer. We're gonna come back to that. Okay. Cohort of Chaos. So Chaotic Flare. When you roll a 1 or a 20, the magic of chaos flows through you. Roll on the Chaotic Flares table. Ian, we get more wild magic to determine what happens. So there's a Disruption field, Battle Fury. You can read through these on your own if you want. Just the idea that you get a Chaotic Flare, I think does wild magic better than wild magic. And anyone can do it. You just have to be a Scion of the Outer Planes, which really can inform your story, or it's just like a bonus resistance cantrip that you have. All right, so now we're getting off to Ember of the Fire Giant. So this was if you took Strike of the Giants and you did the Fire Giant thing. This one, you do get an ASI, but it's very specific. Strength, Con, Wisdom. You have resistance to fire damage. Wow, they are big on damage resistance in these. When you take the attack action, you can replace a single attack with a magical burst of flame. Each creature of your choice within 15 feet of you makes a dex save. Wait, didn't we just... We just released this as part of our, as part of Emery's Log of Eminences. We did this already! So, on a failed save, a creature takes fire damage equal to D8 plus proficiency bonus and is blinded until the start of your next turn. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't blinded. Anyway, I think I already wrote this feature myself for a product called Emery's Log of Legendary Resistances. So that's kind of cool to know that I'm on the same page they are. But anyway, moving on, we have Fury of the Frost Giant. So resistance to cold damage. Immediately after a creature you can see within 30 feet of you hits you with an attack roll and deals damage, you can use your reaction to retaliate with a Conjured Blast of Ice. It's a con save. On a failed save, the target takes 1d8 plus proficiency bonus cold damage. Its speed is halved until the end of its next turn. You can use this reaction a number of times, proficiency bonus. I really, really like these so far. All right, moving on to Cloud Giant. This one, it's different ability scores, Dex, Con, or Charisma. And then it's a Cloudy Escape, so when you hit a creature when a creature hits you with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to that attack's damage, teleport to a non-occupied space you can see within 30 feet, and yeah, number of times. So it Cloudy Escape. It says it all in the name. Stone Giant, so we're actually going to start down here. Dark Vision out to range of 60 feet. If you already have Dark Vision, more Dark Vision. And then as a bonus action, you can touch a rock that can fit in the palm of your hand, imbue it with magic. The rock is a magic ranged weapon while it's imbued, with which you're proficient, and has the thrown property with a normal range of 60 and a long range of 180. On a hit, it's 1d10 bludgeoning damage. That's kind of fun. And a target has to make a strength save or be knocked prone. The magic remains in the rock until you hit with it or finish a long rest. Proficiency bonus number of times. I actually really like that one. Just pocket sand.
Pocket sand.
All right. The Outlands Envoy. So this one, you don't need a certain outer plane to take this. This is just, if you're a Scion of the Outer Planes, it's more like you're part of the Crossroads. So, you learn Misty Step and Tongues. That's interesting. You can cast each spell once using this feat without a spell slot. When you cast Tongues, you require no material components. You can also cast these spells using spell slots you have of the appropriate level. It's like a diplomacy feat. That works. Who knew? So Planar Wanderer, you can draw on the forces of the multiverse to survive cosmic extremes and traverse its infinite realms. So when you finish a long rest, you gain resistance to acid, cold, or fire damage. Cool. Portal Cracker! Now with planar cheese.
It's like no cheese I've ever tasted.
Your experience with portals allows you to operate them without the proper portal key. As an action, you can concentrate on a portal and make a DC 20 Wisdom Survival check. On a failure, you take some force damage, so don't do it if you don't think you're going to succeed. On a success, you can force the portal open or closed for an hour. For that duration, a portal closed in this way doesn't respond to a portal key. That is one I would probably take this feat. I'd talk to your DM before I take this feat. You want to know you're going to do a portal hopping campaign. The resistance is nice, but I don't know if it's worth an ASI by itself. But if you know that you're doing, like, say, Spelljammer or Radiant Citadel or, dare I say, Planescape, this could be a super cool narrative feat that can add a lot to the meaningfulness of your narrative. So Portal Sense, you know the direction of the last planar portal you used while you and the portal are on the same plane. As an action, you can detect the location of any portals within 30 feet of you that aren't behind total cover. So yeah, that's definitely a super campaign-specific one. I don't hate it, but I do... Whenever I see something that specific, I get a little concerned, because I see a player being like, oh, that'd be cool to open portals, and then portals never show up because they took it. Like, there was some kind of miscommunication where they took it, and it ends up not being useful. Righteous Inheritor. Righteous Heritor, not Inheritor. Okay. Your Soothing Pain. When you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, use your reaction to reduce the damage it takes. Okay. Cool. Sorry, I don't really have much more on that one. It's alright. And then Soul of the Storm Giant. So, Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma. Storm Giants are magic-y types. Alright, as a bonus action, you have an aura of magical wind and lightning that extends 10 feet of you in every direction, but not through total cover. The aura lasts until the start of your next turn or until you're incapacitated. While the aura is active, attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and whenever a creature starts its turn within the aura, you can force it to make a strength save, and on a failed save, its speed is halved. Oh, it's kind of like a mini Spirit Guardians. Imagine that. Except you also, attack rolls against you have disadvantage. That's kind of cool, actually. Yeah, I'm into that. Oh, Vigor of the Hill Giant. So, your con score increases by 1. You don't get a choice. And then, when you're subjected to an effect that would move you at least 5 feet or knock you prone, you can use your reaction to steady yourself, and you are neither moved nor knocked prone. And whenever you eat food as part of a short rest, and spend 1 or more hit die, you regain an additional hit points equal to con modifier plus proficiency bonus. That's actually kind of awesome. I could see players I know. One of them takes Chef, one of them takes Vigor of the Hill Giant. So they can mechanically cook for each other. That's pretty wild. Going back, because I did miss Cartomancer, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Class. So it's only for sorcerers, warlocks, or wizards. So you can use a deck of cards as your spellcasting focus. I summon Dark Magician.
I summon Pot of Greed to draw 3 additional cards from my deck.
When you use the deck as a focus to cast a spell that deals damage, roll a d4. You gain a bonus to 1 damage roll the spell equal to the number rolled. This bonus applies to 1 creature of your choice that you can see damaged by the spell. You can use this benefit a number of times. You also learn Prestidigitation to duel someone, and you can conceal the verbal and somatic components of the spell as mundane conversation and card handling. Okay, and then Hidden Ace. When you finish a long rest, you can choose one spell you know and imbue it into a card. Swords of Revealing Light.
Then I play Magic Force, which allows me to play Pot of Greed once again to draw 3 additional cards from my deck.
The chosen spell must have a casting time of an action, and its level must be less than or equal to your proficiency bonus. While the card is imbued with the spell, you can use your bonus action to flourish the card and cast the spell within. Wow, that is so cool. So by the time you hit max play, you can bonus action cast 6th level spells. All right, I'm gonna be honest. I hate Quicken Spell. I think that it breaks the spell economy. I see too many players. It devalues the Warlock. I have a whole rant about it I'm willing to unleash on the world. I think the healthiest thing you could do for D&D right now, for the next edition, is to say, monks and sorcerers, bye-bye. You booted, all right? Your wizards are sorcerers. They're just a different name for the sorcerers. I hate them. So, this, though, you get a feat that you can do a bonus action spell. That's pretty cool. Hidden Ace. Do it for the vine. Hidden Ace. I actually really like Cartomancer. Yeah, I'm more and more into it the more I'm looking at it. Alright, so yeah, so we're not done yet, though. We still have a little bit left. We have some spells. So, gotta be honest, I haven't read these yet. This is pure reaction. These are inspired by the Deck of Many Things. The worst magic item ever. And Wizards of the Coast was like, but let's try it. Oh gosh, that's why they made a Cartomancer. So the card spells table lists the new spells, ordering them by level. Okay. We have no rituals. We have a whole column of rituals to tell you that there's no rituals. Let's see what we're getting into. Antagonize. Antagonize your DM with a Deck of Many Things. You whisper magic words that antagonize a creature. It has to make a wisdom save, and on a failed save, it takes 4d4 psychic damage. And must immediately use its reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of your choice that you can see. If no other creature is within range, the target has disadvantage on the next attack roll it makes before the start of your next turn. I would love to see that as a 2nd level spell. I don't know if I buy that it's strong enough to be a 3rd level spell. But then again, I'm wrong about a lot of things. House of Cards. Touch the ground and conjure forth a defensive structure made of enormous playing cards. They are really into cards, like with this one. The structure rises with you at its center, harmlessly lifting you and any creatures in the area. The House of Cards has a square base that is 30 feet on each side and has 3 floors. Wow, this is a very detailed... It lasts 24 hours, too. Ramps connect the interior of each floor, and empty doorways connect the interior. Each card that compromises the house is 5 feet wide, 10 feet tall, very fragile. Each card has an AC of 10 and 1 hit point. The cards are immune to poison and psychic damage, and reducing a card to 0 hit points destroys it. Every time a card is destroyed, roll a d6. I can see some DMs now bringing a set of playing cards to the table, having like a mat, like a grid with minis, and having to try to build this House of Cards. And it's just that way when you flick one over, because they're fragile, the whole house collapses. Reducing a card to 0 hit points destroys it. Every time a card is destroyed, there's a 3rd chance that the house collapses, ending the spell. That's so strange. That's such a strange spell. I don't dislike it, but it's so weird. Spirit of Death. So I do know a lot of the Deck of Many Things cards, like they conjure some kind of avatar or something, and these spells are supposed to simulate that. I guess because Wizards of the Coast spent a lot of time building out Deck of Many Things, then nobody uses it because it's terrible. So they're like, why don't we just make some spells? So this is a 4th level necromancy. This is a summon spell with the Tasha's thing that I actually really like. You call forth the spirit that embodies death. It manifests. Uses the Reap or Stat block. disappears when it hits 0 hit points. It's an ally. It obeys your verbal commands, but doesn't require any action from you. Let's see what it's got going on. So it is at least an AC of 15, but it goes up for each spell level above 3rd. That is a misprint because this is a 4th level necromancy. So it says 40 plus 10 for each spell level above 3rd. I think it's plus 10 for each spell level above 4th, or else it has 50 to start with. It has all plus 3s. All right. You and the Reaper can sense the direction and distance of a haunted creature. Wait, when do you haunt a creature? Choose a creature you can see within range. Oh, the whole point of this. To haunt it with the spirit. Oh, that's kind of neat, actually. Number of attacks equal to half the spell's level rounded down. So you have Reaping, Scythe, Paralyzing Fear. Oh. Okay, I like this one. I don't think it's bad. I think it's cool. Spray of cards. You spray spectral cards from your hands or sleeve. Or dual disc. The cards blind or slash at your enemies and then vanish. So you can blind them with a wisdom save. Or you can do 2d10 force damage with a dex save. Hey, at least it has, as a 2nd level spell, it's got some versatility. I can't blame it for that. And then summon warrior spirit. You call forth a warrior spirit. Oh, and you get to choose if it's a barbarian, fighter, or monk. And of course, the monk is awful. Yeah, it's just faster, but it has less hit points. Okay. So multi-attack, reckless strike, rallying strike. So, it's 1d6, but it can choose another creature it can see within 20 feet to do 1d6 temporary HP. Or you can try to knock it prone with the monk one, and the bonus action gives it an unarmed strike, but again, the monk is the worst option. So, yeah. Oh, and that's it. Those are all the spells. So, yeah, Wonders of the Multiverse. For the most part, I really like this UA. I think that, I think glitchling is a neat idea that I don't like most of its features. The cleric subclass, the fate domain, I think that it's thematic. I could see a lot of players being interested in it. I do think that it's a pretty strong option. Its spells don't necessarily excite me, but I really like the channel divinity and insightful striking. I think both of those are, strong. I love the new Scion of Elemental feats. I love that set. They did a great job on those. And I do like the feat stacking progression. The 4th to 8th progression made me kind of nervous. 1st to 4th, I'm into. And I really like what they're doing with backgrounds, giving everyone a bonus feat that players can now customize their character's story a little more and then have that reflected in their mechanics, as opposed to having some random narrative feat do that work for them. And as far as the spells go, the card idea is really, it's kind of neat. I think that Antagonize should either do more damage or be a lower level spell. That's just what it's what I feel. But again, that might not be balanced. There will probably be content creators analyzing the balancing of it. And the actual summon spells, the Warrior and the Reaper, I think are pretty cool. I don't think any of this is unbalanced. I would probably allow most of this in my game besides the glitchling, only because I just don't like it personally. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts now. So do you like Wonders of the Multiverse 2022? What product do you think this is going to release in? Do you think Travelers of the Multiverse is going to be part of Spelljammer? Or do you think that we're getting some big someone's guide to the multiverse later on? Let me know in the comments down below. And have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye now.